Are you a systems guy? If so, you might be killing your business. This is why. What's up, Rafael Cortez, back on the Less Business, More Profit series. Lean, effective, strategic, and simple business. If you're a systems guy or gal, you might be killing your business. This is why, all right? Before I move forward, I want to ask you that if you like the content that we're putting out there for you on a weekly basis, just subscribe, like, and share. All right, with that being said, when I started my first business, I was limited on the money that I had available, right? So my budget was tight. This meant a couple of things. It meant that I had to put in the elbow grease, and I really had to think about every single one of the actions that I took, because it could really break me like on the way up, right? If I only had $100, for example, to spend on marketing, and I made the wrong move, those $100 were going to be out the window. And it means a big thing. I mean, it's a really big deal if you're starting up and you're just, trying to put pieces together and you don't have the actual budget, right? So a couple of things happen. You start with a limited budget when you bootstrap a business. And this is my case. This is how I got started. And that's gonna lead to a theoretical focus, right? So you start thinking about all kinds of stuff. You start to think about, how can I save money here? How can I save money there? How can I, make this, work more effectively? So you get caught in this cycle of overthinking, right? Because you're trying to build up your systems in the most, efficient way possible. With all this overthinking, two things are gonna happen, right? One is gonna be you get analysis paralysis, and you just sit there thinking the whole time, don't do anything. Eventually, your dreams of entrepreneurship just fade away and you go back to a 9-to-5. That's possible outcome number one. The second one, it's going to be that you overbuild. You get on that rhythm where you're building and you're putting your system together, your approach, and you're trying to figure stuff out, right? And you mix in some of the actions, so you get some revenue in, you get some actions in, a little bit of results here and there. But the problem about overthinking your systems is that you often end up overbuilding your systems. Overbuilding and adding stuff on top of the systems that you already have, it's not necessarily a good thing, all right? At the end of the day, we're all looking to automate, delegate, and elevate ourselves, right? But we have to be conscientious about the stuff that we're actually putting into play, right? So overbuilding was my problem. I'm known as the systems guy, and the thought of how can I delegate or how can I automate this has been a constant theme throughout my career. However, overbuilding, again, is not a good thing. It was definitely not good for me, right? So I understood, it got to a point where I understood the process. I understood where all the pieces of my business went. But when it came down to training, I mean, that was a whole different can of worms, right? Now I had to train people, not necessarily on a handful of things that could be, easily understood. I had to train them on the way that I was thinking, right? So if they think like me, they're going to understand the process. And that's a fallacy because we all think different. We all have different thought processes and behavioral strong suits, right? So again, building this massive, operating system that I could only understand was, in my head, I thought it was going to be a good thing, but it ended up being not a good thing, right? So it was just bulky and it was hard to explain. It was hard to implement. So I was getting pissed off at my employees because they were not doing the stuff that I was telling them to do because it was part of the system, right? But the operating system of that first business was just bulky. It was clunky. There was a ton of redundancies. There was a ton of busy work. And a lot of times I was even asking for things because in my head, it sounded right, but I was asking for KPIs and metrics and things to, keep track of, but, they were pointless. They were useless, right? So at the end of all this overthinking and overbuilding, I ended up with this fat, heavy machine that was just eating me up alive, right? I think about it as trying to feed a lion with a bunch of sushi rolls, and it just doesn't work out. It doesn't make sense, right? So how do you fix something like that? If you are the systems type, right, and you start analyzing spreadsheets and you start putting together CRMs and you start getting protocols together and standard operating procedures, and before you even hire your first person, you're going to end up with something that's massively theoretical. And at the end of the day, you'll find out that what really works is going to be something different. It's going to be something leaner, right? So you start off that way. You think less. The whole premise of this series is to think less. Lean, effective, strategic, and simple business, right? So think about the essential stuff, okay? What is the things or the areas of your business that really, really matter? Think about the money-making activities, okay? And give those a structure, give those a backbone. And even if you've been into it, and this would actually help you out a lot if you're a business that's been in place for 5 years, 6 years, just go back to the basics, go back to the essentials, and think like you don't have any resources in place, all right? So think as if you had a limited amount of money, as if you had a limited amount of people, even if you already have people and money in place, right? Even if you have this big lion that you're feeding sushi to, go back to the essentials and then think like you don't have any of the resources that you're, at your disposal that you do. Because when you do that, you start to get creative. You start to look at things from different angles, different perspectives. You understand where the gaps are, right? Right? Because you have a fresh point of view. Give yourself that fresh point of view and reinvent your systems, your operating system, or invent based off of the essentials and the income generating activities that you need to perform day in and day out. Now, understand this, right? Simplicity takes time. It takes a lot longer to simplify something than to put this big, fat, massive, engine of a thing together. There's a very famous quote, and I can't remember. I think it was said by Pascal, but it's I would have made it simpler, but I didn't have enough time. Or something along those lines, right? So for the sake of effectiveness, build your systems out. If you're a systems guy, you're gonna think it through. You're gonna wanna add KPIs. You're gonna add bells and whistles and maybe 10 steps when it could be done in 2, that sort of thing. And it's fine, right? Just have the awareness that you're gonna have to come back. If you wanna keep an effective and efficient business, you're gonna have to come back to lean it out. So when you do that, audit yourself, audit your business, and analyze what are the essential actions that are giving you the profits, that are giving you the steps forward. If you're not generating income yet because you just started, if you haven't hired people because you just started, go back to the drawing board and audit yourself, okay? So far, what are the systems or what are the actual actions and the processes that I've put together that are actually giving me the results, right? You don't have to track every single metric. You don't have to track every single, thing that you feel it's a KPI. There's gonna be a limited amount of stuff, all right? And this goes back to the 80-20 principle. 80% of our results come from 20% of our actions, all right? 80% of the effectiveness in your business is gonna come from 20% of those systems. So focus on that 20% of the systems that are giving you the results and then build up on that. It takes longer to lean out and fine tune your operating system, which is always changing, by the way. Consider it a living organism, right? Why? Because new software comes up, new strategies come up, new employees are on board and they have better ideas than you and all that stuff. So your operating system it's always gonna be changing. Just keep in mind that it's a living thing, right? You have to move along with it. Otherwise, you're gonna fall behind. And understand that the leaning out process may take longer than what it took you to put it all together in your brain, right? So overthinking, it's a good thing to just kind of, build the framework of what your operating system is going to be. However, it's not good to operate like that. Your training is going to be more expensive. The people are going to have a hard time understanding what's happening, what's going on. Your onboarding cycles are going to be longer. The attrition, if people don't understand what they're doing, they're going to fall out. They're going to quit. Why? Because they don't see the picture. They don't understand how the whole process works. So that's going to lead to your attrition, your business, your turnover with employees. All right. So keep that in mind. Leaning out may take a while. However, it's super, super, super important that you actually give it its due attention, right? So pay attention to what's happening in your business, see what areas you can come in and then lean out and simplify it every chance you get, right? Think less. Lean, effective, strategic, and simple business. Lean, effective, strategic, and simple actions, all right? All right, now do me a favor, do me a big fat favor, and if you haven't done so, please go to the subscribe button, just smash it, hit it again, hit it right now, hit it right now, right? I'm watching you, hit it right now. Thank you. See, it wasn't that hard. Subscribe, like, and share. Stay focused, you got this.